in line for consideration of SSB 2025-1212. Seeing as there is an author present, you have 5 minutes of presentation whenever you're ready.
All right, yeah. So this one's very similar to the previous bill. It's also restoring a slight change that was made in the recent Rules and Procedures overhaul. This one restores the threshold for a minority party to receive representation on RNA from 10 to 8. The reason behind this one, when I talked to the authors of the overhaul, was in my opinion pretty arbitrary. The best answer I got was that 10 is a more round number than 8. However, I think that the lower threshold is more appropriate and better suited to the needs of our Senate. As we know, there hasn't been any minority representation on the RNA committee in over 9 months because no minority party has been able to hit that threshold. So it's not like that threshold is currently a contentious problem that's plaguing our Senate. Furthermore, it's super important to have that representation on RNA to talk about different perspectives. Perhaps if a candidate or an individual who was formerly a candidate with a particular party comes into interview, there might be issues of bias there. So it's super important to have that minority voice. This is one of the very few aspects of our codes, of our rules and procedures that is explicitly partisan. So I think it's important to recognize the significance of that when A, making that change in the first place, and then B, restoring it back to how it was. When we passed the Rules and Procedures overhaul, it was with the acceptance that not everything in this is perfect and that we will be looking at amending it and changing it over the coming months. And I was super amenable, welcome to that process, as was our body when we unanimously approved the improved Rules and Procedures. So it's super important now to just go back, take a look at those fine details, and in this case where something was changed that's not necessarily needed for our body and not necessarily helpful to our body, to restore it to a more representational, equitable place. But yeah, other than that, as you can see, very simple. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Alrighty, we now move into 5 minutes of question and answer. Are there any questions?
Do you know why 8 was chosen originally? Is there a reason behind that number?
So the only number I could find, and I actually brought this up when talking with former Senate President Cipher, the only other time a number is referenced with a political party is that in the 700 codes, in order to form a political party, you must run at least 6 candidates. That would be an even lower threshold. However, I think it's more appropriate just based on the history of the body. We've had that number of 8 for a while now. I feel comfortable with sticking to that number rather than reducing it to 6 as we see in the 700 codes.
Alright, seeing as there's no more questions, we now move into 5 minutes of debate.
I think this is fine. Like I think it's a good idea. I mean, obviously, like there's precedent. We had 8 for the longest time, and I think reverting to that, and obviously through discussion of kind of passing the change in RMP and then going back and correcting what we want, I think that is completely applicable here, and I think this is something that I think will be beneficial. So
yeah, especially with no like substantive reasoning for why it is 10.
Yeah.
I feel like going back to precedent with 8 makes total sense.
I agree.
I think that also, like, to give a reason for the number 8 or 10, I think both are fine, honestly. I don't really, but I think that, like, it is enough of a number that ensures a diversity of senators and constituencies represented to where there's no, like, single issue party, to where, like, there's only a few, like, very limited constituencies that could pass the 8 threshold within only that constituency. So I think that it's a positive number, a positive change.
Alright, seeing as there's no more debate, we now move into 2 minutes of final privilege.
I yield.
Alright, we now move into motions. Are there any motions at this time?
Move to pass SSB 2025-1212 by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to pass SSB 2025-1212 by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We're now in line for SSB 2025-1213. I am the author. I'll start now. Hey guys, so this is re-implementing a religious holiday calendar. I think that it's really important. This Religious holiday calendar was in the old rules and procedures, but it was under the duties of the executive committee. If you didn't know, the executive committee is the Senate president, the Senate pro tempore, and the 4 standing committee chairs. In my opinion, that is not a role of this committee, nor should it be. And then I've had communications with INC Chair Finfrock, and she is more than happy to take on this responsibility. So as you can see, we're just implementing an amendable religious holiday calendar at the beginning of each term. Being Jewish, we had a Senate meeting on Rosh Hashanah. I did not like that. I really hope that that never happens again, especially because it was towards the end of the term. A lot of people were getting close to that absence limit, and making sure that there's a religious holiday calendar available to every single person. I think we would be able to schedule Senate meetings around religious holidays, not just Jewish holidays, but every single kind. Obviously, it's up to the INC committee to make the calendar, but I have full faith in Senator Finfrock and Chair Finfrock, and I yield the rest of my time to myself. We're now in line for 5 minutes of question and answer. Are there any questions?
You mentioned that this was previously a duty of the executive committee. I'm assuming that was removed from them in the recent rules and procedures overhaul?
Yeah, so the
Awesome.
religious holiday calendar is not mentioned one time in the new RMP. I think they just got rid of it because it's not something that the executive committee does. The executive committee doesn't even meet.
So true.
So I think that this is a way to ensure that this gets done.
Awesome. Thank you.
The question is, it's more verbiage, so maybe you can correct me if this is thing. Does religious holiday calendar include observances that last over those multi-date periods to make sure that those are well represented within that? Or would it make more better sense to say put religious holiday and observances calendar?
I think it's completely up to the Information and Communications Chair, and I trust the committee to do their research and to figure out what they deem is necessarily. I just put religious holiday because I think it's an overarching term. And I understand observances as well, but if that's something that we want to bring to INC Chair Finfrock, and let her know, like, hey, there's this observance on this day, I think she's more than likely to add it. But I just think religious holiday is all encompassing, really. All right, seeing as there's no more questions, we're now in line for 5 minutes of debate.
Yeah, this is great. This is super important that we as a body have it. I appreciate that you spoke with the INC chair and that this is something that she thinks is a great fit for her committee. I agree. And I think it's awesome that we're codifying this.
I agree more. That Senate meeting on Rosh Hashanah was very upsetting. So
Yeah.
yes, I'm very happy. And I think this is also just like a very easy Instagram post also for the INC, just updating the student body as well. So I think this is a great idea.
Alrighty, seeing as there's no more debate, I waive final privilege. We're now in line for any motions. Are there any motions at this time?
I move to pass SSB 2025-1213 by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to approve SSB 2025-1213 by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We're now in line for SSB 2025-1214. There is an author present. Senator Putnam, you have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Yeah, so just kind of keeping in line with the trend of that process of getting the rules and procedures to where we want them after passing the overhaul. This just adds Rule 3 and Rule 4 to the non-suspendable codes within, or non-suspendable sections within the rules and procedures. Now, Rule 3 is membership of the Senate, so that dictates the election of the Senate President, the election of the Senate Pro Temp, election of members at large, the elections of basically every major figure in the Senate, and so I think it's important that those are non-suspendable, that those are preserved, that the process that guides the election is, that's not membership of the Senate, that's selection and removal is Rule 3, correction. That's, it's also more important because that's censure, expulsion, removal, and Senate officer elections. So it does do all those things as well. But essentially just making sure that the elections for all of those offices and the process for censuring and removing members of the Senate is protected and unsuspendable, because we obviously don't want there to be any malfeasance going on with those processes, and making sure that the correct procedures are followed. And the second section is for the agenda. The most important thing is obviously we want to have the agenda, we want our meetings to kind of move efficiently. But the most important thing is also that it protects public comment. It ensures that this time limit that we set for public comment is protected, and that there's no way of like removing people, or basically that those comments are protected, that they're entitled to their time and they get to have their message heard. So I would the rest of my time.
Okay, we're now in line for 5 minutes of question and answer starting now. Okay, seeing as there's no questions, we now move into 5 minutes of debate starting now.
This is good. That makes
Yeah.
sense. I don't know why we're already done. Those are things that shouldn't be like suspended under any circumstance. It makes sense to make it so we can't do that. So it's perfect. I'm glad you caught this and we're adding this.
Yeah, like I was trying to go through and think of edge cases where you would want to amend the agenda, and I'm drawn blanks. So yeah, I think these are important, particularly Rule 3, but both of them really. So.
All right, we're now in line for 2 minutes of final privilege.
I waive.
We're now in line for any motions. Are there any motions at this time?
I move to pass SSB 2025-1214 by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to pass SSB 2025-1214 by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We are now in line for SSB 2025-1215. There is a sponsor present. You may have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Yes. So this bill is, I think, pretty straightforward. Our resolution is pretty straightforward. We all had a wonderful experience at the UFPD meeting. I personally really enjoyed the chance to work with them. Furthermore, I also had the chance to be on the safety walk that took place between UF Admin, UFPD, and student government, and it was a super cool experience, and beyond that, very, very productive. Like going on to it, I was kind of thinking like, all right, like what are we gonna find? Like streetlights. We found a lot of issues that UF Admin is now like super committed to actually solving. So that event alone is going to create a lot of substantial change on campus. And I'm super grateful that we as a body got to be represented as a part of that. And then going back to the last Tuesday's meeting at the police department, I really enjoyed the opportunity to see their facilities, to continue our partnership with them. They're obviously an important body on campus, and I think it's great that we have such a positive working relationship.
Okay, we're now in line for 5 minutes of question and answer, starting now.
My only real question on this one is just purely the proviso. Those are all people who I know one of the captains was there, and then the other two, they're like all familiar with this resolution.
I'm assuming the answer is yes. I did not write it.
Yeah.
It was written by members of the former ad hoc committee, the campus safety ad hoc committee. So I personally did not reach out to any of these people. We have worked with them one-on-one in the past, so I am imagining they're aware of this, but I cannot give you the definitive answer there.
Yeah, I just also during debate want to mention that the proviso, the way that it's set up is what we like to see. Obviously, Senator Katz passed the resolution over the summer that asked people to submit the emails of the people in the proviso, and I think that this is a great alternative if you don't want to directly email the Senate secretaries, just putting it in the proviso, and that's something that we'll definitely look for in the future on resolutions to the committee.
I was going to ask about that. This is still during debate, so I don't know if this is appropriate, but these are obviously public emails. I don't think we should do that for people when they have private emails and stuff, but definitely for these reserved public emails, I think it's definitely makes it very easy for them to know who to email. Yeah, it definitely helps.
That was part of the conversation over the summer as well, making sure that it wasn't mandated, because we don't want to mandate the public emails be in the proviso. I mean the private emails be in the proviso, which really good point, but yeah. Okay. Is there any further debate?
Is that questions?
That was debate.
That was a big okay.
Oh, was there a question?
I don't know if we ever officially moved into.
We now move into 5 minutes of debate. Is there any debate? Okay, we now move into 2 minutes of final privilege.
Yeah, not much more to say about this bill. I'm thankful for the authors for taking the time to write it and continuing to foster that relationship. And I thank you all for the constructive comments. And yeah, I also agree that the proviso is very well formatted. I waive the rest of my time.
Okay, we now move into motions.
I'll move to pass SSB 2025-1215 by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to pass SSB 2025-1215 by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. Seeing as there is no further legislation to be heard, I adjourn this meeting at 2:27 p.m.